Hey, mic check, mic check, mic check. 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 Hello, mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic check. I am not able to fucking hear this. Hello, mic check, mic check, mic check. Okay, that's better. Okay, the first thing I want to do is um, this was shared online. It was I don't know if it's actually a quote from him, so if it isn't, I apologize for what I'm about to say. But it's got a picture of him. You know, one of the signs of the second coming is that the stars will fall out of the sky and land on Earth. To even write that means you know don't know what you're think what those things are. You have no concept of what actual universe is. So everybody who tried to make predictions or proclamations about the physical universe based on Bible passages got the wrong answer. Well, the thing that I see with that, and this sums up his whole existence. Uh, you go back in time, and it doesn't have to be the Bible. It can be other things. You heard these old people. They put down in writing or parchment or whatever that they saw shields in the sky, or there were dragons flying in the sky, or there was turtles flying in the sky. They they were using words that they knew because they didn't know what it was. They still saw it. Now, maybe they were nuts. Who knows? But we don't know that. And he's a scientist. He's supposed to stick to what you know. And the only honest answer you can come to that is that they didn't know what they were seeing, but they were still allegedly seeing something. It's like, I mean, how many of you grew up, made a wish upon a falling star? They weren't falling stars. You still saw it in the sky. But you still saw it in the sky, but it was a meteor or it was a comet or something. Uh, it doesn't mean that there wasn't something there. So, regardless of what it is, maybe these people really did see the end of the world, but it wasn't falling stars. Maybe they saw something that they thought was the end of the world. And it was like it filled the sky. I mean, that's just ignorant. It just somebody with his background in this shouldn't be doing that. And then the other thing is, um, I there was a couple that were on. It was either yesterday or Monday, or if unless yesterday was Monday. They There was a guy, and he was announcing that he was woke, and I didn't disagree with anything the guy was saying. He was proud to be woke, and by the sounds of it, I was expecting a fucking argument, but by the sounds of it, he has every right to be proud that he's woke. But I made the comment that every fucking group out there has a few people to make them look bad. Um, you take a look at Catholic priests, the kitty fuckers. For all the good that the Catholic Church has done, and they've done some good. You've got the Spanish Inquisition. You got the kids. You got the priests that were fucking kids. You got the ones that were hiding it up. You got the ones that were inviting the mob into the Vatican banker, apparently. Um, for every good cop, for every 10 good cops, you got one bad cop. I'm just saying, it's like, for every cop you got that's good, somewhere along the line you got those ones that kneel on those guys for allegedly selling loose cigarettes. You got to put this into perspective. And when it comes to the woke crowd, um, you had the don't you had the people that were defund the police. They made the woke crowd look bad. You know, in my state, I think it was my state. It might have been Oregon or Washington, but I think it was my state. You had some like they were what do they call that? It's what they call when you can't afford an attorney in the public defenders. That's it. They were public defenders, and they oh fuck, I'm just gonna park these. But they were public defenders. And what they did was they decided to set a cop car on fire. And the judge, I think the judge did a good job on that. He let him know, he got him in front of him, and he's like, you guys know better than the public at large that this is wrong. And so for that, you should be held to a higher standard. I think you could say the same thing about Trump. You were president of the United States. You should have known better than the fucking poor people that the poor people that were following your bullshit. you should know that that was wrong. You know, it should have sunk in. And I tweeted out that, well, threaded out, stitched out, I guess, that you like, and you've got this woke crowd that's passing around Osama bin Laden's letter, and this I was expecting to get blocked or whatever, and he goes, what? He goes, are you serious? He goes, there's people that are supporting Osama bin Laden, and I dug up the article because I didn't want to get it wrong. I'm having a little bit better today than I did then, but I I go, yeah. I go read the article. It has something to do with the supporting the terrorist Hamas group against Israel. And I shared it with him. It's like there were these influencers that just passed it around the internet because it's going to get them clicks and views. Fucking, and the thing is, if I really don't know which I think is worse, if they're stupid enough to believe it, or if they just don't give a shit and they're doing it for the clicks and views. I don't know, but I shared that with them. Uh, and Well, if you're still with me, if you don't mind, reach out to everybody you vote for. Ask them to legalize assisted suicide. I watched my mom, and the the hospice was great. I got no problems with hospice. They did everything that they could. I really thank them for it. But uh, Dr. Kevorkian was right. We deserve some better options, and we just do. And so let's see if we can get that. So maybe if I'm pretty sure my dad would have chosen it. He talked about walking out into the field and fucking using a shotgun and that. I don't want to go out that way. I really don't. When the time comes, I think I would like to. I mean, if that's what it's gonna be, if it's gonna be some fucking horrible thing, and it looks like it's gonna be, um, I was either drugged or poisoned. As far as I can tell, it's the only thing I got that makes sense. But I think I was drugged or poisoned when I was working at GM for bringing up quality issues and contract issues and stuff like that. And it was pretty bad. It seems like even the fucking union was involved because I heard through the grapevine that and he didn't know it had anything to do with me, but he said our shop chairman sold us out to keep his drunk brother from getting fired, and it's bad. It's bad. Uh, but uh, but anyways, I'm recovering from a busted ankle because I get lightheaded and I just collapsed when I was going down like a step onto the basement. It wasn't even like I fell plenty of times on the stairs, and I just would like some better options, you know. Uh, and we watch kids get killed every day. The fucking Republicans can get off their high horse that they're fucking for life. They're really not. They're for birth. And but let's get that going. But but anyways, this there's another thing that they passed around. They were that it was they called it ABC, but it was like the Australia broadcast system. Um, they fired someone that worked for them because they posted, this propaganda about Hamas and about Israel. Like it's all Israel's fault. What's happening to those terrorists and their supporters? And I just kind of flipped out at it. It's like, well, you guys got to understand that this, just like the lie, just like the big lie, the one on the election. Just like that, belief in that lie eventually cost people their fucking jobs. Some people had to move. Embracing this lie is got the same fucking consequences. You know, being stupid is not free at times. Um, I hate to throw it out there, but it's just a thing. Uh, and that's what I did. I go, the big lie cost Republicans their jobs, and clinging to this lie might cost some Democrats their jobs. I go, Hamas. If Hamas turns itself in, turn over all the weapons and all that, things can probably get back to normal. I mean that sincerely. But you can't act like it was Israelis are the victims here. And Netanyahu might be a piece of shit. I'm not defending that guy, but I honestly believe that if he was held for war crimes and he got a fair court, and I don't think he can. I think the end the I think the but if he got a fair court, I think he might be found guilty, but he'd be found guilty and they'd understand why he did it. I don't think a fair court would find him guilty of war crimes when they've been under siege for like 60, 70 years. When they've got, and it isn't just Hamas, it isn't just Palestine, but, for like 60, 70 years, you've had pretty much all the Arab states would have just been happy if they'd have killed, if they could have killed, if they could have killed Israel and just called it a day. Um, and that goes to the and I mentioned, I go, you guys might want to rethink this and grow the fuck up, because you had members of, because at Harvard had a misfunction with that anti-Semitism, and you had a lot of CEOs, and I don't think all of them were Jewish, who said, "Why don't you send us that list of those people that don't like Israel, and we'll know that we shouldn't hire them." There were consequences there. You might have a Harvard degree and you might be fucking flipping fries or pumping gas because you can't get a real good job. And and then the other thing is, I don't know. I took a screenshot of it and shared it because I figured, maybe, when sunlight crept in, he would look to hide it. But I wanted to share it. But it was this guy, and I have no idea what his race is or his religion or anything. Yeah, he could have been a dumb fuck American as well as a fucking terrorist supporter from the Middle East. I don't know. But I don't really care either. But he put a picture up, and it's the land that is Israel. But it was the whole land, and it was marked Palestine. And I gotta tell you, that's just further proof that they can't have a two-state solution. I literally, I mean this sincerely. They got to pick Palestine up, and maybe you just do the Gaza Strip this time, but you pick them all up and you move them somewhere. Take them to Iran, take them to Qatar, and go, hey, they're your problem now. You guys have been funding this shit. You guys have been supporting terrorism. You guys fucking live with these guys. And I mean, Morning Joe, I called them out on it. I don't know if it did any good, but it seems like it does. It seems like they are listening. But he'd been going off on Netanyahu because, and I don't really understand who is funding him, but when he came into office, it sounded like it had been going on before he came into office. and then he made sure it continued. It was this money being spent, being basically given to. It was being paid to Hamas, being paid to the Palestinian people, and their rightfully elected members. Uh, and he let it go on, and it wasn't like, oh, it was for 3 weeks before they would. It looked like it had been going on for a while, and so you can't say, you absolutely cannot say that they weren't letting them run their own lives. Israel had stayed out of it. They were getting money so that they could build schools and make jobs and support their people. And what they did was they built a terrorist network. They built this. I think the day they were saying something like 450 miles of tunnels under Palestine. They built a terror network. They built an engine of terror. They bought weapons. Instead of teaching their kids how to be productive members of society, they taught people how to make bombs. And it's I think the proof is out there that they this cannot this can't go on anymore. And I don't know. It just it is what it is. But I just don't see how. And I don't. I personally don't care if they pick them all up and move them. But maybe you do it as a warning. You take them away from you take a Gaza away from them, and then you tell them, hey, one more fucking thing, your fault, your fault, somebody else, nobody's fault. The next one that happens, you're gonna lose the West Bank too. Uh, and I've seen things I've complained about seem like they get taken seriously. I mean, I hear them mention it. So I literally, I firmly believe that they have a right to rebuild Solomon's temple. It's they should be able to dig. And I was just watching this documentary that they found tunnels, or they found a room or something. They did the I don't know if it was lidar or if it was sonogram or whatever, like, but they found that there is likely uh, a chamber or something. There's a hollow spot, and it's underneath something in Jerusalem. I don't remember what it. I wasn't planning on doing a video. I didn't know all this other shit was gonna creep up though. But they got permission from the prime minister. They had an archaeologist there, and they were digging their way down to it. And then the Palestinians found out, and you had armed men there. And again, I don't want to say anything, but on some level, why didn't they open fire? I just the Palestinians or whatever, they had the same attitude. It was a discussion down when I was in Indiana before, while I was getting sick, or before I was getting sick. Uh, you'd have these people there. I'm gonna call them proto MAGA people, but they would sit there and they would argue with you. And like when you'd point out, well, yeah, this, the founding fathers were okay, but they were slave owners. They made mistakes. They got things wrong. And then you get these guys. They'd send you a private message. They wouldn't want to. Good God, they wouldn't want to look like they were being reasonable to their friends. But then you get this message from them, and they'd be like, "Well, why do you gotta say that? Well, 'cause it's true." And they well, why do you gotta say that? Well, it's true. And I go, well, yeah, but wouldn't you rather, just not say that and not make our founding fathers look bad? And it was something along those lines. They knew I was right. They knew I was right, but they were arguing like, well, why do you gotta put that out there? Why can't you just let it be? And I told him, I go, well, I have found in my experience only stupid people are afraid of the truth. And it's the same with the Palestinian. I have no idea what was down there. It might be good for the Jews. It might be good for the Palestinians. I got a feeling they know. I got a feeling that they know their religion is bullshit. I mean, I think Christianity is too. But I think they know that their religion is bullshit, and so they didn't want any truth coming out. Otherwise, what are you afraid of? If you really believe, that, Muhammad and everything is all good, and hey, I might not need. It's just I might not need you to get. I'm a little sick and tired of waiting. I really might not need assisted suicide if I can piss off the fucking jihadi bunch. Maybe they'll come and give us a fucking a fucking a fucking a fucking fire funeral. I'll go out like a fucking Viking. And but if your religion's so great, what are you afraid of? If America is so great, what are the Republicans afraid of in teaching about slavery? They know it's a lie. They know it's bullshit. They know they preach one thing and they do something else. And I don't want to be mean to them. I'm really not. But only stupid people fear the truth. Only dishonest people fear the truth. But I don't know. But they should be able to go down and dig and find out what that is. Because I mean, again, it could be maybe I don't know about the Jewish faith, but like I've studied enough. I mean, I've studied enough to know that like in the Christian faith, most of it's based on bullshit. That might have meant something once, but I think it's possible that Jesus wasn't. That Jesus wasn't, immortal. That he was like, human being. But I don't know. I firmly believe that if we knew the truth, that maybe none of the religions got it right. They were just primitive people that were trying to explain the world around them. I mean, these are people that are really, really smart, and they've investigated this a lot more than me. But every now and then you catch like George Knapp and others, and they're speculating like, well, what if we were brought here as an agricultural experiment? And the thing is, it's probably stuff that they have stumbled upon, but they can't prove it. But they believe it, is what I think. But but again, it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I don't know. But I find that the with Netanyahu, I find it he let them have access to money. And And this is what they built with it. They built the ultimate fuck you machine to the Jewish population, and when you get to it, he was being he was given shit for fucking authorizing it. It's like, wait a minute. Then you better, and this was on Morning Joe, then you guys better start reporting that they cannot do a fucking two-state solution. And then it was like the following week, and they were doing this for 2, 3, 4 weeks where they were reporting on, Netanyahu letting this money in. And it's like, well, then and that was what my first thought is like, well, then you better start reporting that they can't have a two-state solution. That is just fucking nonsensical because and I'm like, why are you painting Netanyahu as a bad character? Hamas is the people they have elected. They have elected to run them. Now, granted, they haven't had an election since. Fucking Trump is so fucking pissed. The fucking Taliban was able to pull off what he didn't, but what he couldn't. But I gotta go sleep. But oh my God, you better go out there right now and just point out, yeah, we can't have a two-state solution because and Netanyahu should be. I mean, really, I hate to say it because I really don't think a lot of the guy. I think it would be better off if they got rid of him, got somebody a little more realistic and honest in there. But it's like, yeah, you better fucking you better sit there and tell people, yeah, he can't, but yeah, why again is he the bad guy? They're acting like, oh, Israel has not been in the way of them deciding their own fate. They and I don't know this, but I suspect that in the final analysis, and I think most of the allies and his own people, uh, I think if the truth comes out, I think it's going to be that he let it happen. Because when they talked about what they did to get ready for this, I'm like, it was kind of like George Bush letting the Taliban fucking slip away. There were, I mean, this was not widespread news, but there were military people. It was on late at night, and then you didn't hear about it the next day. Kind of like when when they announced they found life on Mars. Uh, the next day, it was reported at night, and then the next day, uh, on nothing to see here, because what was funny is there was a guy at work, and I was the only other one that watched news like he did, and this was back in the 90s, and I came into work. It was like Tuesday or it's either like Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. He goes, "Hey," he goes, "Did you have the news on last night?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "If you're asking about them finding life on Mars," I go, "I haven't heard anything about it." He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "Yes, yes." He goes, he goes, everybody's looking at me like I was fucking nuts, And yeah, I hear you, I hear you, man. But he's like, everybody's acting like I'm nuts, and he goes, I was starting to wonder, and he goes, because he had seen it that night coming into work. And then the next day, I wasn't as gung ho about it as him. But the next day, he was scouring the news for the information, and he couldn't find anything about it. And it was really freaking him out. But I go, yeah, they had that on. He goes, okay, I'm not losing my fucking mind. But he was, I'd never, usually he was a pretty laid back guy, but that was the only time I ever saw him fucking freak out like that. My God, that was just fucking hilarious. And they found it on a meteorite or something like that that had blown from. I think that's what it was. It was a meteorite that had blown from Mars. I don't know how they proved it, but they'd found it in the ant. I think is what it was. And but he was just freaking out. Well, it it should be. I got a feeling that the Israeli people and their allies, if it comes out that they allowed this to happen, I think Netanyahu's going to have some explaining to do. I firmly believe that. Uh, but yeah, it just that fucking just got me fucking. But yeah, that just gets me these fucking people. They want to bitch and moan about Israel because Israel had rockets attack that Israel had to build, and they're the only ones that built it successfully. Necessity is the mother of invention. They were getting bombed so much that they had to develop a thing that took out rocket propelled grenades, and it works pretty good. It works really really good. I heard a fucking person talking over there that they've gotten like when a bomb goes off uh, when a bomb goes off they uh, yeah, when a bomb goes off it oh shit. The cleanup of it has gotten like if their bomb goes off at night, the next day the windows will be replaced. It'll be all cleaned up. The Israeli version of Safe Light. The truck rolls up, they fucking spick and span everything. Uh, Safe Light repair, Safe Light replay, boom. Fucking explosion going off. But no, he said the only thing in the morning you'll see to indicate that there was a fucking explosion is you'll find the flowers for the victims. Um, just let that sink in. This isn't right. And for these people to sit there and act like Israel's the fucking bad guy. I'm not saying they've done everything perfect. I'm absolutely not. I think Netanyahu has got a few things to answer for to his people. And I think he should probably be replaced, for that. I think his allies should be, but and I don't think he's going to get one. If he does have a war crimes tribunal, I don't think he'll get a fair trial. I absolutely don't, and I think that's fucking wrong. And to me, maybe it's a Nixon thing. Hey, you go off, and we'll protect you. But if you start meddling in politics again, we'll remove our veto. Because it's just wrong. But hang on. But anyways, Okay. Oh, I watched. And my brother was watching it, and it was on one of the older movie channels or whatever. But they had the Zohan Adam Sandler one. I haven't seen that in a while, and we were watching it while we were eating lunch. And I finished watching it. I went into the other room, and that had its moments. Like when they were sitting there at the end, it's like, hey, if I was on a plane with you, I think I'd be calling for security or whatever. But the thing, the thing that they got was, and this, I mean, again, I don't know parts of that movie. I think you would have trouble with the whiny ass fuckers out there. I think you would have trouble making that movie today. But there's parts of it I think that maybe they should sit down and watch it again because uh, one of the things at the end of the movie when the Israels and the Palestinians, very telling. They said they go, well, here we're the same. The people don't like either one of us. And they looked, and again, this was meant to be funny, 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 funny. But they go, why do people hate you? Well, they think, they were talking to the Jewish, and they go, why do people hate you guys? And they go, well, they think we're you. And okay, that might be true. Except for the Tiki Torch March, the Jews will not replace us. Here we go. Okay, let's go to sleep. But yeah. Well, anyways, that's what I got. That's just my ad libbing. Okay. First off, I'll go into more detail later, but the classified mixed results. This is for the classified briefing that they had last Friday. Um, Most of the people there's plenty that they can talk about, but they were respect. And I got to give them credit. As I got to give them credit, they were honoring the skiff, the fact that it's classified. But I think they all agreed that the government or maybe not the government as a whole, but they admit that they're still covering things up. Uh, One said she believes more than ever people have been hurt to cover this up. And Burchett, I think, is only going to be happy when they release everything. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it's a mistake. I seriously do. Uh, but I gotta say though, I think we've reached the point where if these fuckers are gonna continue to cover things up, then yeah, they should release everything. If I've reached out to the president. I've told him, hey, if they don't, you should just this is your nuclear option. You should just tell them, hey, you either get me, give them a date. You either get me Chuck Schumer's bill, the one that I can't remember the guy's name that he co-sponsored it with, but you get me, Chuck Schumer's bill by, March or April or June or July. You set a date on it. And if you don't, I'm going to release everything. I'm just going to release, because it's like, I don't think it's a good idea to release everything. I think there's some stuff that for national security, but there. And this is the other thing they kind of mentioned. It was on a different video, but it was from that same press conference. That there's definitely overclassification, and I don't understand how it works, but the military guys would understand this. I don't understand the nuts and bolts, but I trust like Fravor and others who've said this more than I trust the congressional. But they said that there was something that was it was a video. It it's classified, but they said they go it doesn't make any sense. It was shot. It wasn't shot on a base. It wasn't shot with military equipment. He goes, I don't understand how it gets this classification hearing. This classification rating. There's a lot of stuff that the military people have said that have all fallen under the same category. And you could start right there. You get this presidential panel, and if they get this panel, uh, yeah, I covered that. But I just don't think they should. But if we're gonna keep getting this game of fuck that we got going with the intelligence agency and the military, then yeah, I think they should just release everything. And I also asked him, the president, to declassify everything with the Kennedy. I mean, it was like fuck. It was like 70 years ago, 75 years ago, or something like that. Uh, just declassify it. There should be nothing. There should be nothing in there that should be classified. That should still be classified. But we'll see. And but no, because because you get that panel. It'd be 8 or 9 people or 10 people, all handpicked by the president. That's like, I mean, and this is what they'd have to do if they're going to be doing it. They'd have to do it something. They'd have to develop a plan, and they would have to start with they could start with uh, go through it all and keep an eye out for stuff that should not be classified, and then release that. And and that would be be a big shot in the arm for him. It really would. Uh, and you have all this stuff that the military or intelligence or the CIA or the fucking contractors, the military industrial complex, they didn't want you to see. Well, here we're going to release it because it should have never been classified in the first. That's going to put a spotlight on it. That would be a good thing. And then you go and you'd have to have like 2 tracks. You'd have one of them that would be like cold case files. They would go and they'd go look at Project Grudge, Project Sign, Project Blue Book, and they'd relook at everything. And then you have one that looks at the new cases. You'd have one that look at all the old cases, and I'd say, anything. I don't know where you want the cutoff. I would say anything older than 5 years, put that all in one basket. And you probably have 4 or 5, 10 teams investigating it. And then you have maybe start them out small and then build up. Give Grutch time to train everybody. But and then you have like a smaller unit, like maybe 5 teams, that would be looking over. They'd be like your X Files units. They'd be going out looking at stuff that crops up. Um, I mean, to me, it doesn't seem like it's that hard. And then like as you go over them, you have like layer one. Just give it a pass. Is it supposed to be classified or is it not supposed to be classified? If it's not supposed to be classified, don't really spend a lot of time involved. Just let it out there and let everybody see it. And then when it's classified, to me it seems like you got to have a couple different buckets. Is it classified that you're only gonna alert the gang of 8? Is it classified to where you're only gonna alert like the intelligence community or the armed services community? And then after that, find out if you're going to release it to maybe more committees or just Congress in general. Uh, you know, release them there. And that's a thing. They it's our allies. This is not the enemy. The enemy is fucking cool with it. But our allies, they reached out. Well, there's a leader from one country, and don't ask me which country it is. I won't be able to remember off the top of my head. They expressed real concern if Trump gets back in and the Republican Party as a whole, because they're just not trustworthy. And he didn't come right out and say it, but I think that, it at least looks like they're in Putin's pocket. And this goes with this too. We're looking at this classified stuff. Anybody that wants it declassified, you got to get this shit in the Republican Party out of office. Because even if we release it to them, they don't release it to us. Who's to say they're not going to turn around and turn it over to Putin or Xi Jinping or somebody else? Because they don't clearly, for whatever they say, they clearly don't have America first. And what if we get, and there's a couple of them that are like it. What if we get a Donald Trump clone in there, and they're going to sell it to somebody for money? I mean, they gotta. I mean, if nothing else, you gotta take them off all their committee assignments and just give them a vote. But I think you gotta, if they're engaged with another country, or it appears that that should be enough for you to let them go. Because I mean, again, I would like this information out there, and I don't want the excuse for holding it up, and that could very well be what Biden is holding it up on. I would hate to see the reason that they're holding it up is because the Republican is full of traitors. The Republican Party is full of traitors, full of traitor sympathizers, or just too scared to do anything else. And I would like to get rid of the Terror Caucus. I'd rather like to get rid of the Me First Caucus, and I'd like to get some good people in there so we can get to the bottom of this. Because that could very well be. I mean, what did you have? I think it came out that during his and this is wrong, but I can understand extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. But when Trump was in, they got to where they just weren't they weren't like giving him access to everything he should have had because they couldn't trust him, and they're rightfully so. I mean, how much of that is down at Mar-a-Lago? Oh well. That's enough of that. I hopefully will do more of this. Maybe not, because I think I covered it. I just typed up a little note, but that's the bulk of it. Okay, now this is for all the Whovians out there. I caught it on YouTube. It's Leela versus the Time War, Doctor Who channel. Uh, I think it's a bonus that they created or a deleted scene, but you got to go into the other room, wake your grandpa up, and ask him if he was a Hoovian, and ask him, and if he isn't, maybe just don't talk to your grandfather. But you go in there and you ask him about Leela. Leela single-handedly tried to bring loincloths back as a Doctor Who companion, and the Janus Thorn, uh, but it was at the end of her stint as a companion, she fell in love with a Time Lord and was staying on Gallifrey. So when they did the Night of the Doctor or whatever it is, that when they did the Time War, uh, they actually had an old Leela. It was played by the same actress. She still looked pretty good for being as old as she was. And and again, I don't know if it was a deleted scene from when they shot that or if it was something they made for the. But apparently, there's advertising season 15 of Doctor Who, and they had her taking part in the Time War, and she refused to. She was going to stay to the end, and she goes, "No, uh, they want you to go." It was a device. It would take her anywhere in time and space that she wanted, but it was a one-way trip. And then what they did was when she activated it, it took her, and it was Tom Baker. It was it was like an old. They it was like they did this with Star Wars when they did the Tribble video. Um, it took her back to where the doctor was, but it was like him from the old days. So it's kind of cool. I have to go to the bathroom. Be right back. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Yeah, but yeah, that was an interesting one because I had never seen it before, or I don't remember seeing it. But I was kind of a neat little trivia thing. Okay, now the next one is questions swirl around the new jellyfish UAP footage, and they've got jellyfish in quotes if you want to go look for that. Fuck that. Um, Video was released over a base in Iraq. I believe it was in 20. It was a couple years ago. It was released over a base in Iraq. Video showed or was described in a way that indicates intelligence on the part of the craft, and it was a thing that it looked like a jellyfish, and it looked like a jellyfish, and it it went into the water, and then it came back out of the water, and it's only part of a larger video, and they were I can't remember who was interviewing them, but it was Ross Coulthart was on there. Jeremy Corbell released the video, and David or Ross Coulthart he he said that it's pretty frustrating when you are a reporter, but he goes, I know what he's dealing with is when you get some of these people that give you these videos, they they wanna basically hang on. Okay, I gotta wait for him to be able to. I gotta wait for him to say he can be fed. But they give you these videos and they edit it so that they try to cut out things that will identify who they are, is what he was saying, and that actually makes sense. Uh, that's really not that long of a video. I mean, again, it's mostly you get to see it, you get to hear Ross Coulthart comment on a little bit of it, and if I remember right, he was of the opinion we've got to take our time and we got to wait for more information to come out, but it's a good first start. The other one is 2,000-year-old banned Bible chapter revealed terrifying, and then they had a little bit more, and the channel was Cosmos Lab. Uh, and I don't really want to be. I'm not like a biblical scholar, and Book of Enoch is banned. Covers things before Jesus and in Jesus' time. I believe Enoch is Noah's grandfather, and uh, I think they were saying they it was like something that just disappeared, and then they found it. I can't remember the year, but they found it in Ethiopia, and they also found it. I believe it was either that thing 70 years before the Dead Sea Scrolls, or they found it in with the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's like 300. I think they said like 300 texts that they found. Well, there was the Book of Enoch. There was there. I don't want to screw it up. But go watch the video. There's like four or five books they mentioned that were found in there, and I don't think any of them are books that are in the Bible. They're not in the Bible now. And but uh, but go if you're interested and curious as to about about why the church doesn't want to include. Maybe go check that video out. And again, I think you'll find more useful stuff from the books that are banned in the Bible than what's in the Bible. Uh, okay, the next one. Ancient aliens, divine encounters, or alien connections. And it's on the History Channel. Uh, this one here, this is one I can't do justice to, or I would want to do it as part of a whole video, not just covering like little videos. But I included it because this is a really good one. It covers at least one megalithic site, and it's like a city. There's some speculation that it might have been carved out by a laser, but it's a city. It's an entire city or a big temple that's been carved out of one piece of rock. Um, but it's a megalithic site, and this is one I haven't heard too much about until recently. And so I felt that was very, very useful to put out there. Um, Coulthart and Colon and Coulthart is how he spells it. But Coulthart, colon, classified UAP briefing yields significant results, and that's on News Nation. Coulthart was brought on to comment on Representative Moskowitz. He's the guy that's been accused of being a Smurf, and he's proud to be a Smurf. I think he married Smurfette. Uh, I was going to bring a saddle back. Okay, now if I don't forget, I'll remember to take that brown one with me when I go. And but he was brought on to bring a comment on Maskowitz. Said many things, and this is what he was brought on to talk about because he was the first one to interview with Grutch. And Moskowitz said many things Grutch testified about were backed up by the IG. And it doesn't sound like there's anything the IG said he couldn't that he found out was wrong. But it's kind of like the Michael Steele report. Pretty much everything that they could verify in it, they could verify. And it sounds like just like the Michael Steele report, there's things that the Inspector General couldn't verify, but he didn't unverify them. He said he believed Representative Lunar was right to believe that people have been hurt or killed to cover this up. And he said that the representatives were kind of upset that like they weren't told where stuff was. It was more a procedural thing than a substance thing, and some of them were really upset about that, but most of them. And then the last thing that they had was military is allowed to get away with sophistry, big elegant words that mean nothing. And they have done that in every one of the events that they've had in front of Congress. Congress had asked them, well, does the government have any? They're just asking. I'm just going to do it generally, but they were asked, does the U.S. government have X, Y, or Z? And then what they do is they would tailor it to, while here on the UAP task force. Well, when they had that first hearing, that one guy was he was the intelligence person for the whole Pentagon. And to me, they should have. I didn't ask you about the UAP task force. And I don't care if you're here representing it. You are a military officer who is above intelligence for the whole Pentagon. Are you aware of any of this? You can either tell us yes, you can tell us no, or you tell us that you have to wait till a classified briefing. And we'll be happy to go into classified briefing right after this. But them are your only three choices. Either yes, you're aware of it, no, you're not, or you have to testify. And if we catch you lying, we can prosecute you for lying to Congress. And that would have been one way to get around it, but they didn't think of it. But they do it all the time, and I gotta tell you, I think I did this on something else, but I feel the same thing hits here, where you have these people that I think it's proven that there's illegality going on. I can't speak. I really I mean can't speak 100% UFOs or whatever, but if there's not UFOs, or if some of the stuff isn't UFOs, then you've got at least people who are aware of uh, congressional money that's being misappropriated, stolen. You have people that are not briefing Congress like they're supposed to on classified material. And these are things that I think carry jail times. Now, it was never meant to cover up these people that were lying for the government, but they should be held. Uh, like, you take a look at Reality Winner. There was someone who tried to help us out. She saw the president go on TV and people for the president and go on and say that he didn't know anything about it. He had no involvement with Russia, and she knew it was a lie because she had seen classified documents. And unlike Comey, she felt like we deserved to know. So it was wrong. It was absolutely wrong. But she took classified material and she leaked it to show that we knew he was lying. Comey didn't do that. Comey would move heaven and earth to fuck Hillary Clinton over. But a real threat, something honest to goodness, a real threat, he was willing to sandbag it. He was willing to cover it up to help Trump out. And I don't think. Well, one, I honestly, and again, I don't put that other guy. I can't think of his name, Snowden or whatever. I don't put him in the same category because he could have just told the truth on what they were doing to us, you know, and then he'd be part way to being reality winner. I mean that. I mean this sincerely. Just bear with me a little bit. Um, if he wouldn't have told, but he told about the stuff we were doing to our allies or our enemies, and that's national security information. Uh, but if he would have just spoke up about, and maybe not give away sources and methods, but if he just spoke up about what they were doing to the American people, and he would have stuck around to face prosecution for it, I would say he was just like reality winner. But he fucking dimed us out what we were doing to other countries, which that's not illegal. And and then he fucking ran off to Russia. That guy's a traitor. That guy's an absolute traitor as far as I'm concerned. But I don't want to see any more reality winners. Only get the fucking boot. Uh, Everybody in the military, everybody in intelligence, everybody that was in the military industrial complex, they should all be able to face those same fucking penalties. What I mean, I'm not kidding you. This is another thing. Uh, you've got that guy who sold us out. He he. I don't understand why there isn't more uproar at what's going on with. And again, I don't even know Hunter. I might not like the guy if I met him, but when you look at what he's going through, there was a FBI agent. He was counterintelligence or something like that. He was the guy that headed up the investigation that cleared Donald Trump in the Russia investigation. He's now been caught taking money from Russian sources. Now, that right there, uh, it sounds, my God, when you look at what Hunter's going through, it looks like, this should be more. No, he was given 5 years. He's got probation for all or most of it. He gets to keep the money. He gets to keep the fucking money. What the fuck seriously, what the fuck? I mean, I don't, I know, to me, it sounds like it's worse than what Senator Menendez is going to, and that's if he's even guilty, if it isn't all made up. But, I got to admit, some of what they got on him, it looks pretty bad. It looks, and he hasn't said, I don't think he said that it isn't true. But I wonder why people have not been fired at the Justice Department. When you look at what they're doing to Hunter Biden, not working for the government, just a generic citizen, and before you get too high on your horse, if there's any Republicans, when George Bush, he gave an interview. This was back in the 90s, I believe. It's either the late 80s or early 90s. Might even been while Reagan was still president. No, actually, no. It would have been in 88 to 92. But he did a press conference, he did an interview or whatever, and he made the comment. And you go back, Molly Irvins has got a really good book. I think it's called Shrub, because he wasn't big enough to be a bush, so she called him Shrub. But she pointed out, I think in that book, it's been a while. I think it's right, but it's one of her books, but I think that's the one that it was. He was getting shit paid off by, it's a lot like Jared Kushner. He was getting a lot of his business deals paid off by Saudis, by oil people. And then he was doing this interview, and I'm assuming it's around, but I don't know how close they were together. But he's like just smiling, kind of like Jared Kushner. And he's going, well, yeah, when your dad's the vice president, there's a lot of deals to be made when they know that you can just pick up the phone anytime you want and give your dad a call. And we haven't seen any evidence of that. But even if we have, there should be one standard. If it was okay for, and I really don't think George Bush should be, I don't think he should be, harassed over that. But he made that comment back, and now maybe you can hold the dad accountable if you can show some evidence. But there's nothing. There's no evidence of that. With Bush, I'm not even think there's any evidence with Bush. It's all buried. But with Joe Biden's one of the most honest guys you can get. But there's no evidence of any wrongdoing other than he didn't pay his taxes and he fucking lied on a form. Um, there's no indication of anybody else being charged with that unless a crime had been committed with the gun. Uh, but when you look at that and you look at this guy who was taking money from the Russians, when you look at the fucking grift that was going on with Ivanka and Jared, I'm like, seriously, when the fuck are you guys gonna investigate the Department of Justice? When you look at all that shit going on with that was going on with Roger Stone and General Flynn, what the fuck? I mean, seriously, what the fuck? Uh, I don't know, and I got into that, and I said, I think I threw it up on Threads, but it's like I'm tired of seeing this. People get scapegoated if they're at the bottom. Like the I no more of this shit of the January 6th muscleman. If I'm all for the foot soldiers and the lieutenant, the foot soldiers and the people that are at the bottom. I'm okay with their being held accountable, but we got to start seeing the people at the top get theirs, and we are seeing it. But it took like what 3 years, almost 3 years of time, and it really looks like Garland finally figured out, oh, I'm not going to be able to let this go for the team. Uh, I'm tired of seeing the people of Abu Ghraib. The foot soldiers were the low hanging fruit. The foot soldiers, they were put to the trial. They were found guilty, but there was nothing about those non-commissioned officers, the officers, and the people in plainclothes. There was no evidence that they even investigated that. Bridgegate. Chris Christie. This is why I really got a problem with him. But he stood there and he hung a girl. It was the same thing. They found a female general over in Iraq to hang Abu Ghraib off. Not one person in the pictures, but you got a general who had, I think it were like 17 or 18 bases under her command. She was probably at that base once every month or two. She wasn't in there, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't going on when she was there. That was probably the good days. But no, Chris Christie, he had no problem throwing that girl under the bus. There was a guy who was in emails, with her. He was just as guilty. Oh no, nothing. We'll hang it on the girl. We'll hang it on the fucking Sheila down here, and nothing on him. And I'm just sick of it. They gotta start putting these people, and it's the same way with this military thing. You know, if they let these people off the hook, I don't care if they're in the defense contractors. I don't care if they're in the military. I don't care if they're intelligence. I don't care if they're civilian contractors. If they let them off the hook, it's just going to happen again. Have we learned nothing from Trump? Have we learned nothing from the Republicans? They're just going to get away with it. Same way with the GOP in the Congress and elsewhere. If they're not held accountable for January 6th, if they are not taught that speech and debate the clause ain't going to protect you from trying to overthrow the government, it's not going to protect you from obstruction of justice. It's just going to keep up. It's just going to keep up. And I don't know. I don't. They gotta put these guys to the wood. They gotta build a shrine. They gotta go there and they gotta put them in jail. Uh, if they have to, they gotta Enron these companies and break them up and split them up and give the stuff to other good companies that aren't breaking the law. And this started with Bush in Iraq. Uh, the there was a contract. It was on 60 Minutes or 2020. It was one of those two weekend shows, and he went and when Cheney got in, this is the way I understand it, uh, from the reporting and from the documentaries I saw. When Dick Cheney got in, he set up conditions on how you get contracts in a wartime. And the only company that was at the start, there was the only company that was capable of handling it was Halliburton, his company. And so then they had to get the contracts, and then other people could get contracts through them. So it was a big giveaway. I mean, you guys, these people want to go on about Trump grifting. This is nothing new. He learned this from Cheney. All these companies had to go and subcontract through Halliburton, and I think Halliburton was still paying him like $200 million a year or something like that. And they were just about bankrupt before they came into office. It was just like Vietnam. You had all these military contractors that were almost bankrupt, and then the Vietnam War started, and it was a gravy train. They were making money hand over fist. It was the same way with Cheney and Halliburton. And you had this guy that came on, and he was talking about he can't get a contract. And they go, well, are you qualified? He goes, I was during the first Gulf War. He could get contracts to do oil drilling, to basically build or run equipment, oil platforms, or to build them over there. And he goes, I can't get one now. And so, I mean, it was the same thing. The only thing is they were a little less greasy about it. They were a little less visible doing it. But, everybody wants to blame him for the graft. Well, this was learned behavior. And that's what I'm getting at. It's like if they would have cracked down on that, if they would have taken away the profits, if they would have put people in jail, maybe even the vice president, um, maybe Trump wouldn't have done it when he got in there. If you had Nixon, if he would have been put in jail and not given a pardon, maybe you would have seen the Reagan administration look different. Maybe you'd have seen the Bush administration look different. Uh, Now, if Bush's dad, if he was guilty of anything other than covering up the Iran Contra, because it might have led to him, it wasn't really clear. I mean, but maybe he was doing illegal shit and we just didn't hear about it. But the I don't know. Uh, but maybe Trump would have looked different. Maybe the Iraq War two, Gulf War two. Maybe you wouldn't have had the torture. And if you'd have put the torture guy, if you'd have put the torture memo guy and like the higher ups for torture, not just the Abu Ghraib, but you'd have put the people, the decision makers, maybe a lot of the stuff in the Trump administration wouldn't have happened. And when you look at this shit that is going on, I mean, that we already know about, uh, that there's money that's been misappropriated, and hell, you got like $1 billion that comes up missing every year. In there was something my brother was talking about in my state. They wanna they wanna legalize medicinal marijuana, and they want the state to own the dispensaries or whatever. I don't really care if they do or they don't, but I can actually see some benefits to doing it state run, because um, my brother watches the Belushi thing. uh, on him growing marijuana, and I watched at least one episode. I was just part of it. I went by and it was on. Um, it sounded like there was trouble with the drug traffickers, and you and he this is what he was telling me. He was like, well, you have to get licensed. And I think he was trying to sell it like it was a bad thing, but you have to get licensed. The distributors have to get licensed. Like, and he has to go. Like, he's moving out into other states. He's got to get licensed in each state. Well, yeah, it's like if you got to get any business you want, you got to get licensed in that state. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can be Target. Target has to get licensed to open up a Target store in Wisconsin. Doesn't matter how many stores they got in Kansas. They still got to get licensed in Wisconsin. So that was a non-issue. And then he was like, well, and he was like, he was just saying it's bad. And it's like, well, no, because they've had problems with the drug traffickers. They've got to be licensed. Well, maybe with having it, the state-run dispensary, they'll have to deal with the state every step of the way, and then that probably will cause less problems, or at least it'll narrow them down. And he made some comment like, well, you're upset about, well, he doesn't want. I think he realizes if marijuana gets legalized, it might eliminate if it gets legalized nationwide, it's gonna cut down at least on doctors probably prescribing painkillers. You can get the marijuana because it's better, it's healthier for you, it's natural. But he uh, he goes, well, yeah, but you're always talking about how much you're upset about the billions that come up missing in it. Yeah, this isn't the defense industry. I mean, it didn't make any sense. It's like, yeah, this isn't the defense industry. They're selling fucking marijuana. They're not even. I haven't heard that the VA is fucking pissing away money. No, they're the VA. They're not allowed to do that. I haven't heard about other government agencies being able to piss away $1 billion and get away with it. He was just looking for any excuse, but it's like, well, no, if this is a legitimate thing, because do you think? I mean, to me, it makes more sense to have you're always dealing with the state government than, oh, they're going to audit a couple times a year, or they're going to audit a couple times a month, or they're going to audit every couple months. That just looks like it's going to be, they can find a way to, but if you're dealing with them all the time, and it's also like I think it's going to be less of a problem because I've seen YouTube videos where these dispensaries have have problems with people coming in trying to steal drugs. And again, if it's a state-run dispensary, they'll put an end to that real quick. Where you know if you're dealing with the law enforcement and you're just a fucking pothead running a dispensary, they might not care. I think I don't know. I don't really care. I don't care if they do it one way or. But it seems to me, and I hope I'm wrong on this, but it seems to me that the whole thing is it's being run because the Republicans, and I think this is going to change because that we've just won some gerrymandering lawsuits in our state, but for at least now, the Republicans control the legislature. And I think this is their way of trying to keep it tied up. And, but you know what? If it's the only legal way to get it, fine. State run dispensaries. I hope everybody, well, hey, fuck you. If if you don't want the state run dispensaries, then you are the Republicans. You guys are in charge. Then change it. But if you want the state-run dispensaries, you better vote for it because we want legalized marijuana. I'm not kidding you. I don't know, but I'm not that healthy, but it does not take that much to grow crops. And I don't know what hoops you have to jump through to get, legalized marijuana. I don't know. Or to get it, to grow it, to license it. But that is something that I could maybe do. And the only thing is, I've seen a little bit of that John Belushi one. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do the some of the shit that he does, but it's at least a thought that I could do that. We got like a couple acres. That is something I could maybe do. It's probably not going to be anything. It's probably, but I mean, at least you can keep the dream alive. But but either way, it's better than the alternative. We've been keeping that. But yeah, it's just enough of this shit. Well, I'm starting to ramble. I'm gonna go ahead and close out. Peace out, and I hope everybody has a good day.